Good Monday morning, everybody. We are live here in Nature's Neighborhood for another animal meet and greet. Today we're going to be talking tortoises and turtles. So everybody tune in. We're on our T's this morning apparently. Turtles, tortoises, tune in. And let us know that you can hear us, you can see us. And we will go ahead and give some shout outs before we get going this morning. Good morning, Zakari. Hey, Max. Thanks for tuning in. And as we said, we're going to be talking turtles and tortoises. We have Josh from Education going to be joining us, and we are in Nature's Neighborhood, Kids Play Central of the zoo. Good morning, Colton, Cassidy, and Isabel. Hey, Colby. Hi, Sam. Hi, Athena and Caden, Theo, William, and Marcus. Hey, Alex. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good morning, Kaylee and Jackson. Hey, Jen. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Arnisha. Good morning, Rowan and Lincoln in Graytown. Hi, Gavin and Eliana. Jaden and Jackson are here and ready to watch. That's awesome. Good morning, Patrick. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Angel. Good morning. Hi, Amelia. Thanks for letting us know you can hear us and see us, Tony. Hey, Cal and Bellevue. Hi, Ruth and Napoleon. Grammy and Kibosabi say hi. Hello. Hi, Tina and Zika. Good morning, Grace. Good morning, Anna out in Las Vegas. Happy Monday to you. And good morning, Angie. Hi, Mom. Always got to get that in. Hi, Parker. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and get started here. We are, as we said, in Nature's Neighborhood this morning, and we're going to be talking turtles and tortoises. As you can see, we are still practicing our proper social distancing. We've got our masks on. Josh and I are a little bit further apart than normal today, and we've got a spotted turtle here, and Josh is holding a leopard tortoise that he is going to talk to us all about. Before we get started, though, we always want to remind you guys to go to ToledoZoo.org and see all the ways that you can still connect with us, because your zoo is #ZooOpen online, even though you can't come see us here on grounds. You can order meals on the go. This week, we're having barbecue pulled pork and Salisbury steak. So if you need family dinner, it feeds 4 to 6 people, $35. And we have curbside service. You can come pick it up tomorrow night or Thursday night between 4 and 6 p.m. at the Broadway entrance. Order it online now. And we are adding cookie decorating kits to our online offerings. So if you guys need some dessert as well as a little artistic freedom, grab a cookie decorating kit. You get a dozen cookies, 2 different colors of icing, and 2 different kinds of sprinkles to decorate your own. And you can always send us those pictures. We'd love to see those, see your creativity and how you're making those cookies not only look awesome, but I'm sure you'll enjoy eating them too. And our education department, which Josh is a part of, is offering all of our virtual classrooms. They have exhibit tours and animal groups and how to train your pets, horticulture, something for all ages. Go to ToledoZoo.org/virtual to learn all about those and to sign up. And of course, we are still here, still caring for our 10,000 animals, and we're doing all of that with your help. So if you're able, please consider donating during our live feed through our donate button at ToledoZoo.org/donate or through our Facebook fundraiser. Thank you all so very much for tuning in every weekday at 10:30, and we're moving all around the zoo. So today it's talking tortoises and turtles. Josh, talk to us about who we have here.
Yeah, so as a zoo educator, you can imagine I get a lot of questions, especially from children. You know, is it alive? Is it real? Where is it from? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? But one of the most common questions we get when we're showing some of our ambassador animal reptiles is that a turtle or a tortoise, and what's the difference? So I thought it would be a good idea to look at a turtle and a tortoise and talk a little bit about the difference. So the first thing that I want to stress is that there's not a whole lot of difference. All tortoises are turtles. It's similar to all golden retrievers are dogs. With that in mind, tortoise is a word that is reserved mostly for those that stay on land. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we can look at some key features. So this is Tim. He is our leopard tortoise. And leopard tortoises are actually the 4th largest tortoise in the world. So right behind the big giant tortoises comes this little guy. Now he is about 19 years old, and he is near his full-grown size, but some exceptional tortoises can get 80 pounds. He's nowhere near 80 pounds, but a leopard tortoise, do you know, I say he, Tim is actually a girl, so she is nowhere near the 80-pound record, but she's a pretty big tortoise. Now, why do we call our female tortoise Tim? Well, Tim got her name before we could tell whether Tim was male or female, and it's really hard to tell with a leopard tortoise, especially when they're small. So back when she hatched, we didn't know. Now we do know. So Tim is our female leopard tortoise. So other things that show us that Tim is a tortoise. If you notice this large domed shell, that's great protection when you're on land. It's not very streamlined in the water, though.
No.
If you notice, she has big feet. They look kind of like an elephant's foot, big and for walking. So she's going to walk up on her feet, no webbing or flippers or fins for swimming. And she's not much of a swimmer anyways. Now she would love to go in a puddle of water and soak up that water and just kind of sit, but she's not going to be swimming around. But she is very good at walking, and we can actually see her walk around. I'll set her down on the ground, and we'll see if she'll walk around a little bit for us. As she's walking, one thing that I want to point out is that she is not dragging her shell. She is supporting her whole weight, and that goes for a tortoise this size, or even our large Galapagos tortoise, Emerson. So they are lifting, in her case, about 30 pounds, but in Emerson's case, over 400 pounds of weight to walk around. You might notice that on her front legs, her scales look really tough. So that's excellent protection. She cannot fit entirely in her shell. So when she gets scared, she's going to tuck her back legs in, she'll tuck her head in, and then she'll put her front legs in front of her face as an extra form of protection to keep her safe. So we've looked at tortoises. We'll let Tim cruise around a little bit, and we can look at the opposite and meet Clemmy here. So Clemmy is a native turtle. She is a little spotted turtle. And she's 8 years old, and she is full grown. So we're seeing kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I'll pick her up, and she tends to be a little shy sometimes. But you can notice her shell is much more streamlined. Mm-hmm. Excellent for swimming. She has claws, but she also has some webbing between the claws, and those feet are more like a fin to paddle through the water. And she can go much further into her shell than Tim can. So spotted turtles are found here in the United States. They actually are an endangered species. So we are actually here at the zoo working on conservation projects to study native turtles, not just the spotted turtle, but other turtles like the Blandings turtle. And when our conservation department goes out to research turtles, they'll collect turtles, they will mark them, and then let them go to study where they go, and they'll eventually recapture them And that gives them a lot of good information on what the turtles are doing. So we're going to set her down and see if she'll show us some of that swimming behavior. So she's very comfortable in the water.
Yes.
You notice she has kind of that dark shell with just those yellow spots. The number of spots can vary on the spotted turtle, and they'll continue to get spots throughout their life. Those spots actually are really good camouflage. You might think that a bright yellow spot might be something that sticks out, but there's a lot of things that are bright yellow, especially in the water. Think about those little plants that might be growing at the top of a pond. Some of those have kind of a yellowish or a greenish color. So having a spotted pattern can make it so that you're really good at camouflage.
That's awesome. And you guys, while we were talking about Clemmy here, Tim made it all the way across the floor here to the beehives over there. So Josh just went and retrieved him, so you guys can retrieved her, so you can get a little better view and do a little comparison here. So while we're checking them out, let's go back and get some of the questions you guys have been asking here. Let's see. Our first question is from Amelia, and she would like to know, what do Tim and Clemmy eat?
Oh, do you know, that's another difference between turtles and tortoises. Tortoises tend to be herbivores, so they're going to eat really just plants. Now that doesn't mean that if a bug happens to be on the plant or something like that, they might eat those too, but most tortoises are primarily herbivores. Most turtles are primarily omnivores. So Clemmy likes to eat plants just like Tim, but she also will eat other things, insects, worms, little fish if she can catch them. So she is a true omnivore. She'll eat whatever.
Very good. And AJ wants to know if either of them have had any babies.
Oh, do you know what? Neither of them have had any babies. They actually do not live with others of their type. So they neither of them have had babies. They are both considered adults, but no babies yet.
All right. And Sam wants to know, how old do tortoises get?
Oh, that's a great question. It depends on the tortoise. The leopard tortoise, which is what Tim is known to live over 80 years.
Wow.
So that's a long time. So she's quite young, being 19 years right now.
But you said that she is almost full grown.
She is almost full grown. Do you know what? Most reptiles do the majority of their growing in the first quarter of their life. So they get big relatively fast, and then their growth doesn't stop, but it slows down quite a bit. Clemmy, on the other hand, is 8 years old, and they're known to live into their mid-20s. However, in captivity, she has a good chance of living significantly longer than that.
And you said that Clemmy is an endangered species. Alex wants to know what the leopard tortoise's conservation status is.
You know, it's considered stable. So there are other tortoises in the world that are definitely threatened and endangered, but the leopard tortoise has a stable population right now in Africa.
All right. And Logan asks how their shells get bigger to fit their body.
Well, that's a great question. I'm gonna use Clemmy. So a shell is actually made out of two things. The parts that you can see are a hardened scale. On the inside, it's bone. If you feel your skull, you can feel your bones. And your skull is a living thing. It grows with you. Since this is bone, it also grows with them. So it can feel, it can grow, it can break, it can heal. So a shell is a pretty amazing thing, and it's a living part. So it's not like a hermit crab where a turtle will leave its shell and need to find a new shell. In fact, right along the back here, along the middle, is the turtle's backbone. So it's built right into the shell.
That's amazing. And Jaden asks, how do they put their head inside their shell?
Oh, that's a great question. Turtles have an extra flexible neck. And it's actually a little bit longer than our neck is. If you go to our reptile house, we have a snake neck turtle, and you can really see how long that neck is. So they basically have some extra bones and extra length that allow them to put out their neck or pull in their neck.
Cool. And Alex asks, what are the threats to native turtles like Clemmy?
That's a great question. Native turtles are facing a few different things. One is, you might look at Clemmy and think she would make a really cool pet. And a lot of people have thought that a native turtle would make a really cool pet. They're small, they're cute. So a lot of turtles have been harvested from the wild for the pet trade, and that has really crashed some of the populations. Another thing that these turtles are facing is habitat loss. A little turtle like this is going to have a hard time finding a new habitat if the wetland that it lives in is destroyed or polluted. It's not going to be able to travel to the next wetland miles away. So it's important that we protect the wetlands that they're found in as well.
All right. Our next question here. Oh, nope, we can't skip this one. There's a hi, Uncle Josh from Emily. So we want to make sure we get the shout out there to Emily.
Hello.
All right. Let's. Scarlet, age 6, wants to know, why are their shells so heavy?
Well, their shells are heavy because of the protection that it provides. Imagine filling a backpack with a lot of books. It would be heavy, but your back would be really protected if you could lift that weight. So it's the same kind of concept. It's a trade-off. Some animals have adaptations for speed, and they don't have the weight of a heavy shell. But a turtle and a tortoise trade off some of that speed for the protection. In fact, if we look at Tim, again, she's not as big as a leopard tortoise could be, but there are very few things that could eat a leopard tortoise that size. In fact, it really wouldn't be worth it for things to hunt a leopard tortoise Tim's size.
And that leads right into Sherry's question, is what are their predators?
Sure. Again, as an adult leopard tortoise, there's not really much. It would need to be a really desperate predator that was super hungry to try. And I say try because they wouldn't necessarily be successful. But tortoises really face a lot of predators when they're young. When they're young, their shell isn't as hard, and they hatch out of a ping pong ball sized egg. So they're pretty small. Their eggs are small. So there's a lot of things that would eat a small tortoise or an egg. Birds of prey, lizards, even things like meerkats might eat them. Same kind of thing with a spotted turtle. She's not nearly as big, so there are some things that could eat her now. Mostly it's going to be those mid-sized predators, things like raccoons that might try to eat a spotted turtle or spotted turtle eggs.
And Lucas would like to know if we have any snapping turtles here at the zoo.
We do. We have actually a very large snapping turtle at the zoo in the aquarium. It's an alligator snapping turtle, which is found in the southern United States.
Very cool. So yes, Lucas, check that out on your next visit to the aquarium. And Isabel wants to know, where are leopard tortoises like Tim native to?
Oh, they are found in Africa. They're a savanna tortoise, so you can see Tim's color. It's kind of that brownish yellow. That's great for hiding in dried out grass. The spotted pattern gives a dappled effect if it's underneath the tree or even in the grass, so it makes it really good camouflage. Leopard tortoises are most active in the early morning or right before sunset. The rest of the time, they're trying to stay out of the sun, making sure they don't get too hot. So you can imagine if it was sitting still, not walking, the camouflage would help it in Africa.
And give us the technical vocabulary term for active at dusk and dawn.
Yeah, so we could call it crepuscular. Mm-hmm. So that's active at dusk and dawn. Diurnal is active during the day, and nocturnal is active at night.
Very good. All right. And Trenton and Dad want to know, how many turtles do we have here at the zoo?
Well, that is a great question, and I don't have an answer to that. We have a native turtle yard behind the reptile house that has a number of different turtles. There are turtles on exhibit in the museum. Mm-hmm. There are turtles in the aquarium, the Amazon River turtle, our sea turtle Tink, yep, and the alligator snapping turtle. And then within the reptile house, there are also a few turtle exhibits. So we have quite a few, but I can't put a number to it.
And Bella wants to know, why are they so slow?
Why are they so slow? Well, do you know what? Like all reptiles, they're trying to conserve energy. So you've heard the expression, slow and steady wins the race. Well, that's really what a turtle's life is, or a tortoise's life. So when you have this protection and not many things can eat you, you really aren't in any rush. Might as well conserve your energy and take it slow.
Yeah. And that leads right into Amelia and Gemma's question, is how fast can they go?
Well, you're seeing Tim running right now. So this is top speed. Oh, and a breather.
Down.
We need a breather. So they're not known for their speed. They're known for slow, careful steps. Now, some aquatic turtles can get much faster, usually when they have the water to move through.
And Sawyer, age 6, asks, do any tortoises live in the desert?
Tortoises do live in the desert. We actually have a tortoise here at the zoo called a desert tortoise. He's another one of our ambassador animals. His name is Cactus. He's from the United States in the Southwest. So there are definitely tortoises that live in the desert. Other ones include, there's a really cool tortoise called a Pancake Tortoise, and we have those in the reptile house. And instead of having that domed shell, they're flat just like a pancake. And that's for getting underneath rocks and being able to hide. So there are
cool.
A lot of tortoises that would be in the desert. Tim and leopard tortoises could be found in the edge of the desert. They're not going to stray too far from a savanna type habitat, but one of their favorite foods are succulents. So succulents are plants that have a lot of water on the inside. Mm-hmm. So tortoises get a lot of their water from the food that they eat.
And we've gotten a couple questions of, did Clemmy and Tim hatch in captivity?
Oh, that's a great question. I am not certain where Clemmy is originally from. I believe she was born at another zoo. Tim actually came from the Sacramento Zoo.
And Maki wants to know, can they survive without their shells?
No, they cannot survive without their shells. Since their shell is made of bone and really makes up their back, they need to have their shell. But just like you might get a broken arm or a broken leg and it can heal, a broken shell can heal on a tortoise. Now, in the wild, that would be a really difficult and challenging thing. But in captivity with vet care, there are many cases where a tortoise is helped to have their shell healed because they're provided excellent care.
Awesome.
Neither of these have ever had their shell broken.
And Crosby wants to know, where do these two live? So where can he find Clemmy and Tim at the zoo?
Sure. Clemmy lives in Nature's Neighborhood. She has an off-exhibit holding, and she comes out frequently for different talks and demonstrations throughout the summer. Tim lives in the reptile house, and she has an outdoor area kind of back by the raptor barn.
All right. And Ben, age 6, would like to know, how big can their shells get?
Well, that depends on the tortoise. So an average size for a leopard tortoise is about 18 inches long. So Tim is in that average length. For a spotted turtle like Clemmy, it's only about 4 inches long. So she's a little smaller than that average, but she's still young. So she's going to keep growing.
All right. And Kellen, age 7, asks, how do turtles keep their shells clean?
Do you know what? If you're a turtle that goes swimming alone is enough to keep it clean. They're not necessarily worried about the cleanliness of their shell, though. So, and if you're a tortoise, you're going to be out in the elements most of the time. Rain is going to help keep your shell relatively clean. One question along those lines is, obviously they can't reach all parts of their shell, but they both have the ability to flip over if they fall on their back. So in Clemmy's case, her neck is much longer. So if she lands on her back, she actually uses her head to tilt herself back over. And in Tim's case, the way that shell is domed, she's not going to land flat on her back. So she's already going to be on her side and can use kind of a rocking momentum to flip back over.
Very nice. And Max wants to know, when they lay eggs, how many do they lay at a time?
Well, that depends on the turtle or the tortoise. And with Clemmy, they might lay only 1 egg at a time. It could be up to 8 eggs at a time. But you can see they're not very big, so they can't have too many eggs. And they'll just kind of bury their eggs in a small hole. Same thing with leopard tortoises. They will bury their eggs. Turtles and tortoises don't make good mothers. A leopard tortoise can have more. They could have up to 30 eggs at a time. And they can lay eggs up to 5 times in a season. So they could have a lot of babies over the course of a year, but not all at once. And neither of them make good mothers. Once they lay their eggs and cover them back up, they walk away. So a baby turtle or tortoise won't meet its mother or father.
And this leads right into Ainsley and PJ's question, is how big are the eggs?
Oh, well, for a leopard tortoise, imagine like a ping pong ball size, although not perfectly round. And then for a spotted turtle, think of maybe like a peanut size.
All right. And Camden, age 8, wants to know, how old is the oldest turtle that we have at the zoo?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you know, I don't know the age of our alligator snapping turtle. So that one might be up there. Otherwise, it's going to be Emerson. And Emerson is about 100 years old.
Wow. And let's see, that led right into another question here, though. Simon and Owen's favorite animal is the alligator snapping turtle. Do you know its name?
Do you know, I do not know its name. Sorry.
We'll see what we can do on that one, Lauren. All right, next question. Brinley wants to know, are these mammals?
Oh, that's a great question. These are not mammals. These are reptiles. So the main groups of reptiles would be the turtles and tortoises, which is one group. Lizards and snakes are a group. Crocodiles and alligators. And then we actually have the unique 4th group, the tuatara. So they are a reptile, and like other reptiles, they're covered in scales, and they are cold-blooded or ectothermic, and they breathe with lungs.
And Bryn wants to know, how hard are their shells?
Well, the larger the turtle or tortoise, usually the harder their shell. There are some, like a soft-shelled turtle, that just has really the scales and not the same amount of bone. But both of these have pretty thick shells for their size.
And Clay, age 3, is wondering, why is Tim's shell so pointy?
Oh, Tim's shell is pointy, and that's not a normal thing. Tim has something called pyramiding. And what pyramiding is a condition where the shell doesn't quite grow right. Now, when Tim was young, that pyramiding was pretty drastic. You could see a lot of points. You can see her shell is really starting to round out quite a bit. So in the wild, pyramiding does happen. It also happens in captivity sometimes. And it has to do with getting the right nutrients at the right time to grow the shell. So it's a problem that our keepers and our vet staff have worked on, and her shell looks a lot better, but still has a couple of little points.
And Isabel wants to know what happens to their shell when they die.
When a turtle or a tortoise dies, their shell is made up of scales and bones, and there are a lot of different things that will use those bones as a source of calcium. So they'll end up slowly decomposing, or some things chew on bone to get the calcium within it.
And Trenton and Dad want to know, how can you tell a male from a female?
That's a really tough question, and it depends on the type of turtle you're looking at. So some turtles are what we call dimorphic. You can tell the difference between male or female just by looking at them. Maybe it's their size, maybe it's their eye color, or some color on their body. So Clemmy is dimorphic. So if you can see her chin is yellow, spotted turtle females have a yellow chin. Males, now this is really tough, have a tan chin. So you need to be able to distinguish in the wild the chin of a little turtle between yellow and tan. So that can be challenging. Tortoises and some turtles have a different shaped plastron, which plastron is the undershell of a turtle. So let's take a look at Clemmy's plastron. So this is called the carapace, the top part, and this is the plastron. So some turtles or tortoises, the males have a curved in plastron, and females tend to have a flat plastron.
Very cool. So it really takes a trained eye to be able to tell.
It does, and there's as it goes with a lot of nature, there's no one rule that you can follow. So you need to know what the specific rule for the species you're looking at would be.
All right, we're getting a lot of questions about Emerson. And Emerson is our Galapagos tortoise. He's currently in the conservatory for the winter, and he'll move out to Galapagos Gardens for the summer. Unfortunately, neither of these is Emerson, but Tim is a tortoise, just like Emerson, but Emerson is a giant Galapagos tortoise, over 100 years old. You said over 400 pounds.
That's right.
Tim is our leopard tortoise, and she weighs, would you say, about 30 pounds?
She weighs in the 30-pound range, yeah, and she's 19 years old. So you think of a tortoise over 10 times the size of Tim, and you're close to Emerson.
Yep, and then we were doing the comparison for you guys today, talking about the difference between tortoises and turtles. So Clemmy here is a turtle, and she is actually a spotted turtle.
Correct. She's a spotted turtle. She's full grown, about 4 inches in length, and she's about 8 years old.
And Laura wants to know, what's the most common native turtle in Ohio?
There's a lot of unique native turtles. It could be the painted turtle. It could be the turtle. Overall, turtles in Ohio need our help, and that's part of why our conservation department is researching turtles. You can imagine with a little 4-inch turtle here, it's really hard to get a count on how many are out there. So we don't necessarily have a reliable number. Same thing with box turtles. So hopefully our work and our partners' work will help to get a better idea of what turtle populations in Ohio are like.
And I've actually gotten a chance to go out with our conservation team and look for spotted turtles and Blanding's turtles and box turtles and see what we could find. And they're using some radio telemetry to be able to find these turtles, but it's also just a lot of walking through marshy areas in our metro parks where they are kind of common and checking them out, seeing how many we have. As you were saying, they will mark them and they will take down the details, and so that the next time we go out, we can tell if we've seen that turtle before.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really cool, and it's something that you guys can do too. If you live near a marshy area or you're walking through the metro parks, keep your eyes out for these guys. They are very cool things to discover, and now that you know a little bit more about them, check them out. Just make sure that, of course, you put them back where you found them, and to keep them safe and to keep the populations going.
Yeah, and if you go to our website, to the conservation page, there's more information, not just about our turtle project, but all of the projects. And one thing that we want to encourage people to do is that the information that they can gather is just as important. So they can be what we call a citizen scientist. So they can help scientists collect information. And there's a lot of different ways they can be a citizen science. One that we use and a lot of scientists use is called iNaturalist. And it involves taking a picture and getting some help identifying things. So you're doing something with your phone camera, and it is supported by scientists from the area and potentially all over the world to help identify and track the things that you're seeing.
And that is a very cool thing to be involved with. So if you guys are out out in those areas, check out the turtles and send us your information.
So one thing that I want to answer before we're asked about tortoises. So if you noticed on Tim's shell, it looks like she has rings, kind of like the rings of a tree. And a lot of people think that you can tell the age of a tortoise by looking at those rings and counting them. And that works great for a tree, because a tree gets a ring every year. A tortoise doesn't get a ring every year. Those are growth rings, but tortoises grow at different rates. There may be one ring a year. There might be multiple rings within a year. So scientists do use those to get an estimate of age, but it doesn't reliably give an exact age.
Very nice. And Weston wants to know, how long can turtles hold their breath underwater?
Again, that depends on the type of turtle. Tim, our tortoise, doesn't hold its breath underwater because it doesn't actually go in the water. It's not built for swimming. Clemmy, being a reptile, they don't need to breathe nearly as frequently as you or I do. So they can hold their breath for 15 minutes or so. Some sea turtles can hold their breath for significantly longer.
Wow. All right, the Smith family wants to know, this is a very important one. Who would win in a race, a tortoise or a turtle?
Well, is it a water race or a land race? Because that would make a huge difference. But overall, Clemmy versus Tim, Clemmy would probably win whether it's a water race or a land race. She tends to be much more active than Tim. But at any point, they both might just sit there and stop racing.
All right, well, that sounds like a good place to end today's live stream, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, check out ToledoZoo.org for all the ways you can stay involved with us, our Meals on the Go, our education programs, and of course, we appreciate your ongoing donations. So thank you all so much for tuning in and talking turtles and tortoises and good old Tim over here with us. We'll see you guys again soon.